Hello and welcome to the Sports Officer Hustings for 2020-21. We've submitted your questions to the candidates and they've either provided a written response or a video response to us. If people don't appear in the video, then unfortunately they've been unable to contribute. But you can still ask them questions on their candidate pages or on the Students' Union website. So first of all, we're going to ask the first question. So the first question is, how will you help athletes who compete at BUCS or varsity level but aren't scholars and so often feel left out and don't get the support from sports clubs, UN Sport or the university, or know what support is available to them?
Sports are an amazing part of so many of our lives at UON, and it is hugely important to me that no one feels left out. The underlying principles of my manifesto are inclusion and ensuring that anyone and everyone can and does have access to being part of sports in whatever capacity works for them. At UON, there are a huge number of people participating in sports and so many amazing achievements being made at all levels. And as part of my Visibility for Sport manifesto point, I will make sure that this is celebrated both online and on campus to ensure that everyone participating in sports feels included and is part of the sports community. Also, my first manifesto point centres around welfare, and I will expand on how I intend on improving these in the next question. However, the goal of my policies is to create more access points for students to seek welfare support where needed, and to increase the awareness of what is available. I will work with all departments involved in sports to create a cohesive approach that prioritises the experience of the student.
Open support page and group. I would help athletes that often feel they don't get the support they require from sports clubs and University of Nottingham Sports and the university by having an easily accessible open support group and page on all social medias, including Instagram, Facebook and Twitter, where any resources that they may need would be signposted for them. It would show easy and clear to read FAQs as well as links to a variety of support that they might need. An anonymous Q&A would be available if students felt less confident coming forward with any issues they might be facing. All BUCS, non-BUCS and IMS clubs will be made aware of this page via email and encouraged. By making it an open, easy to find group and page, I would hope it would be clear that should they need it, support is always easily available to them. Fortnightly drop-in sessions. I would hold sports officer drop-in sessions fortnightly, so if anyone involved with any sports club should need someone to talk to about anything that concerns them or they need support of any kind, I could signpost them towards any resources they should need or just be that person for them to talk to.
Performance sport is something that differs depending on which sport you're talking about. So the approach that works for women's football won't necessarily work for Thai boxing, for example. From my own personal experience, what we've tried to do in the triathlon club is integrate our performance squad with the rest of the club by having joint training sessions together, and the performance squad have their own dedicated coach who they can go to for support. So I'd be happy to discuss with presidents to see if that's an approach that would work for them, but also see if there's something else that we could do, because I acknowledge that a one-size-fits-all approach wouldn't work for everyone.
Okay, the second question is, welfare is a particularly prominent issue for university students. What do you think of the current welfare support structures across UN Sport, the SU and the university? What will you look to work on or improve in these structures if you are elected?
Over the past few years, the university has made a big push to improve and expand its welfare services, both within sport and the university wide. This has had a really good impact on student welfare. My goals in this area would be to improve accessibility and awareness of welfare support avenues. To do this, I will work with the SU welfare officer to integrate the current welfare structures, so welfare in sport, the club welfare officers and the welfare network. These are all good and important points of access for welfare support, and creating strong links between them would facilitate a cohesive approach to improving welfare. It would expand the capacity, reach and visibility of the current welfare support available and create more accessibility points through which a student could access the wider system of welfare, as it will have a bigger presence throughout sport. To facilitate the expansion of the welfare structure, I would look to employ a full-time welfare officer within Eurowen Sport, as there currently is not one. I would also increase the training and support given to the club welfare officers across the whole year, not just at the beginning. They are a part of the welfare structure that students come into contact with most regularly. They should therefore be supported throughout the year in providing welfare access to their members.
Welfare should always be of high importance. I think the current welfare provision at University of Nottingham is relatively good. New, effective support structures have definitely been introduced to a sport during my time at the university. Initiatives such as making welfare training compulsory for all newly elected welfare secretaries in all sports club committees to attend at the beginning of the academic year and ensuring all sports clubs sign their pledge to welfare have definitely been beneficial. However, as with everything, there is definitely room for improvement, and this is something I know I could provide. Open support page and group. As mentioned earlier, I would have an open support page that all sports clubs will be made aware of. This will be introduced with the abundance of welfare resources, anonymous platforms to give people the means to get support should they need it. This would hopefully improve the welfare vision by making welfare resources more accessible. Work closely with welfare officer to establish better communication between welfare secretaries in sports clubs. If elected, I would work closely with the welfare officer in the student union to assist the welfare network and welfare in sport to establish better communication between the welfare secretaries in all sports clubs. This would ensure that they all had easy access to any relevant information regarding welfare and were also aware of all the support systems already in place for students, which would hopefully give them the means to do their roles within sports clubs most effectively.
First of all, I'd just like to say a big thank you to the Welfare and Sport team. I think they've done a really good job over the past 2 years raising awareness of mental health on campus and particularly within sport. I think now more than ever it's really important that we have good mental health support across university. It's really good to see now that we have a welfare officer for every individual sport, but I think we need to go further than that. I'd like to see individual clubs being recognised for the work that they do around mental health. And I would do that within the Club of the Month system. And I'd like to see welfare training offered to all committee, not just the welfare officer.
And the third question is, after the coronavirus crisis and increased outbursts of xenophobia, how will you make sure that students are still comfortable partaking in SU activities?
Here at Nottingham, we are proud to have a very diverse student body, and I will ensure that anybody and everybody has access to participating in whatever sports opportunities they would like to and feel comfortable in doing so. As the SU, we must be clear and united in not tolerating any kind of discriminatory behaviour. I will work with the other SU officers to ensure that what is and is not acceptable is clear, and there is also a clear disciplinary process for those acting outside of this. Inclusivity must be practiced at all levels to ensure a welcoming and friendly atmosphere. Therefore, in addition to increasing the training and support of the welfare officers, I would add an aspect of welfare training to every committee positions training. The welfare of club members is everyone's responsibility, and this is led by the committee. For non-club sports such as IMS and Engage, I would extend this type of welfare training to those leading these activities, for example, the Engage officers and the IMS execs. I would work with the relevant SU officers and the Sports Executive Committee that I will re-establish to inform the best approach to this extra training. Inclusive practices must be employed university-wide to create a positive environment.
Ensure appropriate support was easily available. Firstly, I would ensure that anyone who was a victim of any form of discrimination had the appropriate support and always had someone to talk to. I would signpost the wide range of support the university has to offer and ensure that they were aware of the support should they need it. If any issues regarding outbursts of xenophobia were reported to me and not effectively followed up, then I would look into the process of launching an investigation and, if deemed appropriate, contact the SU. If elected as sports officer, I would not tolerate any forms of discrimination within the sports provision at the University of Nottingham. Zero tolerance policy. I would also introduce a zero tolerance policy regarding discrimination. This would ensure all students are comfortable with partaking in any SU activities, making it a safe space for everyone. If elected for the role of sports officer, I would look to add an agreement stating that discrimination of any kind will not be tolerated involving any sport at the University of Nottingham for students to sign when purchasing memberships for books, non-books and IMS clubs. Any misconduct will result in a ban from any club involved with the University of Nottingham sport. Before being a member of the club, the athlete would have to agree to this statement. By incorporating this, I would hope that students would feel encouraged and comfortable to partake in any SU activities.
Nobody knows exactly what the situation will be in September. More than likely there'll be some form of social distancing in place, so we'll have to do the best we can to create a safe environment so that everyone feels welcome to participate in sport. During the lockdown, it's been really motivating to see other clubs finding new and inventive ways to continue with their sport despite the lockdown.
And the fourth question, how would you get the average student to join in with sporting events, especially in light of COVID-19, meaning it's harder to participate in physical sports at the moment? What do you make of atypical sporting events like esports tournaments?
Given the COVID-19 crisis, it is hard to determine exactly what next year will look like. However, it is also now more important than ever that we are finding ways both of staying active and of remaining connected to the people in our lives that we may not be able to see right now. Regarding esports tournaments and other similar events, I think that anything that gets people more involved and engaged is positive. It is easy to feel isolated at the moment, and providing opportunities for people to connect and feel supported is crucial for people's mental health. This also applies to sports during the regular year. Participating in sports and being a part of the sports community has a hugely positive impact on the lives and overall well-being of so many people, and I want to extend this to as many people as possible. The first stage of this is making the opportunities available at UON known and understood by everyone. We have an amazing and extensive sports structure with so many opportunities for participation at all levels. However, I think often students don't get involved because they don't know exactly what is on offer. This would include creating promotional materials dedicated to explaining the various options and making them prominent at welcome events as well as sports facilities. I would also improve the overall visibility of sports by giving its achievements and opportunities a physical presence in Portland in the form of posters or banners, etc., to provide it to those who would not usually come into contact with it. Thank you.
Follow government guidance. Firstly, when looking to encourage students to partake in sporting events following COVID-19, I would ensure all government and scientifically led guidance are adhered to and effectively reiterated to students. Share an abundance of online resources. I think it's perfectly justified to be concerned about returning to normal activity following the outbreak. Therefore, when sport is able to be played, I would share an abundance of online resources through social media to try and ease any anxiety and worry about returning to sports following the outbreak. Reiterate how keeping fit is good for the mind during times of great uncertainty. I would reiterate how good exercise and keeping fit for the mind as much as possible, especially in the unprecedented times that we are living in right now. When it was appropriate, I would also organise free, open-for-all events with a different range of sports clubs, hoping to encourage people to get back into sport, meet new people, and potentially even try something new, all while following appropriate government guidelines. I think all the different esports events such as the Toilet Roll Challenge and Running 5K for Charity that have been circulating on social media have had a really positive and unifying impact during a time when you're unable to see the people you're close to. It not only gave people something to do for a good cause, but also inspire people to learn new skills, keep fit and sustain a general connectiveness with people during a time of great difficulty for everyone, also encouraging people to reach out to people they may not have spoken to for a while. I think Esport tournaments are also beneficial. They may not be active, but can be a source of fun and activity at a time when it seems hard to come by. They encourage healthy competition and staying in contact with friends, which I think is important. At a time like this, it's easy to forget how important small, everyday things are, such as talking to your friends, general camaraderie, and activity is. So, in my opinion, anything that encourages that has a positive impact at a time where things appear to be negative.
And there you have it, that's the Sports Officer Hustings complete. Thanks very much to all of the candidates for submitting their answers. Please remember to vote if you haven't already. You can do so on the SU website. Voting is open till Monday. We're going to be releasing the results on Monday evening, so please look out for that on social media. Thanks.